Hello, and welcome to the Hidden Gems Show. This is the show where we interview local business owners from around the world. I'm your host, Safir Jamal, and today I'm joined by my friend Jay Swino, who's joining us from Siargao in the Philippines. Hey, Jay.
How's it going? Thank you for having me today.
Oh, my pleasure. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's evening here in Siargao. The weather's really beautiful, and I'm really excited to have a conversation with you today.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. So, Jay, I know you are the owner of a business that's really interesting. It's called Vultun. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, Vultun, it's located here in Siargao, and the essence of Vultun is to really help our customers and our guests to elevate, transform, and evolve into their highest version of themselves. And we like to see ourselves as sort of a tool or a guide to help people be the best surfer, be the best digital nomad, be the best parent. And, life puts us through so many different sort of like things, seasons, and um, that sometimes we get lost in the mix. And at Voltune, we help people reconnect to their highest truth. We always say, we help people disconnect from the matrix and reconnect to their source, to their truth. And it follows my personal journey. I see myself as the wounded healer. Back in 2019, I was broke. I was over 200 pounds. I was hypertense. I didn't have a girlfriend. I had a failed business. I was depressed and alcoholic. And the doctors were telling me, hey, man, your blood markers are really bad. You're starting to get fatty liver. Things are not looking good for you. And
Right.
so I decided to sort of take stock and change my life. And so I started by quitting alcohol, and then I started to learn, healing modalities like breath work and ice bath, and started to do yoga and meditation and all these sort of various modalities that helped me to become the person that I am today. And now I'm running a successful business in a country that I love. It's very purpose driven. I have a wife. I have a baby that was just born. Um,
Congratulations.
I recently had my blood work done, and my testosterone level is at 825. To give you perspective, I'm 46 years old, and I'm supposed to have like 250 max as my testosterone level, and I'm not taking any testosterone replacement therapy. This is all
Wow.
natural. So Voltune is here to help people who maybe were like me, or people sort of on this journey of sort of being the best version of themselves. We want to help people get there. And so Voltune, we do a lot of different things, but the essence is that we're a holistic biohacking center located in Siargao. We're right on the beach and the famous Cloud Nine surf
Yep.
break here in
Yep.
Siargao. Beautiful waters, connected to nature. And we're really excited to have people like your community come and really do the work and get to that next level. And, our goal is to make the digital nomad community be as badass as they can possibly be. Right. So that's
Love it.
just the gist of it. So thank you.
Wow. Wow. No, that's fantastic, Jay. I mean, so much to unpack there. But first, thank you for sharing your story. I want to dive into that just a little bit. So, you mentioned that you made these transformations in your own life, and that's kind of what inspired you to start the business.
Right.
So how long has the business been running?
The business is now in its second year. I
Okay,
came
great.
to Siargao right after the pandemic, so in like 2022,
Mhm.
and I knew that the world was at a crossroads. Um, the pandemic sort of opened up the eyes of so many people. It's like, hey, we got to change this. And oh, I don't want to work in corporate America, and I want
Yep.
to take life into my own hands and
Right.
create abundance and freedom. We saw many more digital nomads. We saw people doing van life. We saw people, crossing borders and working in Bali and,
Right.
all these places. And, I saw an opportunity to create a business that really is sort of going in a direction that's a little bit contrarian, but
Hmm.
also paving a new path. I really do believe that the world is entering a new phase. AI is upon us, right? The pandemic happened. There's all these sort of global forces that are sort of changing, and we got to rethink the way that we do business, the way that we relate to each other, the way that we connect to nature and each other and ourselves.
Yeah.
So Voltun was created so that we could sort of find a way to be our most human, elevated self. And it's kind of a technology idea, but it's also a very human idea. Like,
Hmm.
how do we disconnect from the matrix? How do we separate ourselves from AI and robots? We become more human. And what does that
Right.
mean? Well, it's a very complex process, it's a long process, but it's
Yep.
a process that involves like being face to face with each other, spending time in real life, and having very human experiences. So, yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for the
I,
question.
I, no, I love that. I think, I probably speak for many of us watching here where we all want to disconnect from the matrix. We're all engulfed in it. We live it 24/7. A lot
Exactly.
of us don't realize that we need to snap out of it. And if we do realize, we just feel like, well, I mean, that's crazy talk. Like, how can we? This is just day-to-day life. This is the norm now. And so
Mhm.
I love what you're doing. I think that this concept of holistic wellness to elevate ourselves into being the best version of ourselves, it's super
Mhm.
aspirational. Who doesn't want to be the best version of themselves and apply themselves into whatever capacity they are, whether it's, the best parent, the best friend, the best entrepreneur, the best surfer, the best,
Exactly.
as you mentioned, right? So I love that. Tell me a little bit more. So this is a new world to me. I mean, you mentioned biohacking. I've heard
Right.
this term thrown out in various contexts. So can you maybe provide a little bit more clarity for some of us who are less familiar with what biohacking actually means?
Right. Biohacking is kind of a catch-all phrase for optimizing your health and biology, but that also incorporates things like mindset and sort of your emotional and spiritual growth and strength. It can be as simple as breath work,
Mhm.
eating sort of healthier, supplementation, but it can go into like ice bath and sauna or
Right,
the V drips or even wearable devices. And it can go as deep as sort of hyperbarometric chambers. Sorry, I'm fumbling that one. But also um, all kinds of really fascinating technologies is biohacking. And the essence of it is that we have all this like knowledge and technology that can help us live to 100 years old to even
right.
150 years old. Like
Wow,
my personal goal is I want to surf until I'm 100 years old. And I truly believe that we have
wow.
the technology, the know-how, knowledge, and ability to live to 150. So biohacking is about, you know, elevating the human experience, strengthening ourselves into, old age and prolonging our lives and having sort of more clarity, have more
Right,
focus, have more sort of this limitless ability of the human power, which is our minds, our spirits, and our bodies in the
right.
universe. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds fantastic, right? And I'm eager to see how your surfing continues to evolve and to get to use that point. But you're right. I mean, there's no reason, as we all talk about, where medical advances and technology are here to let us live in ways that we couldn't live and our parents' generation couldn't do before, right? So I love where the vision is and how you're kind of approaching that. I got to be honest though, Jay, like this sounds
Mhm.
quite intense, right? You're talking about ice baths and IV drips and so. I can imagine it can be a little bit intimidating for somebody who's a bit new to this world. Uh,
Right.
if you're a little bit more on the beginner side of the spectrum when it comes to
Right.
this world, someone like myself, when I come to a place like Voltun, what can I expect, and how do I make sure that I can still find it to be welcoming, inviting, and accessible to someone like me, as opposed to someone who's much more deep into this world already?
Right. So Voltun, we are in the works of developing the full facility and vision of the business.
Right.
We are sustainably and slowly like growing. And next year, we're closing a round of our first pre-seed fundraising.
Awesome.
And
Wow.
we're going to start building the final facility. And it's really exciting times, and we're working really hard in the background. But currently, we have a very approachable ways of biohacking at the
Hmm.
facility. So
Oh,
we provide massage, which is also a form of biohacking,
nice.
um, physical therapy. We have energetic healing like Reiki and
Oh, okay.
acupuncture.
Cool.
We guide people in breath work and meditation. So
Wow.
meditation is also considered as biohacking because
Hmm.
the idea is how do you calm yourself? How do you focus better? How do you make sure that your brain waves are congruent with the type of things that you're trying to do, you know?
Right. Right.
And then we also guide people in surfing, but we go beyond just sort of like pushing people into waves. We really teach them about sort of what does it mean to be a surfer? What does it mean to connect to nature? What does it mean to use this as a way to find flow state? Right?
Right.
Um, so to answer your question, it could be as simple as like coming and trying one of our energetic healing massages,
Yeah.
or sitting with us and letting us guide you through a meditation or a sort of
Cool.
like that type of session. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, I love that. There's a mindful component in addition to the physical component, which I think, you need both, but people are maybe a little bit more familiar with one or the other. So I love that you kind of
yeah,
offer a variety of different services for people to kind of pick and choose where they fall. So that's great.
yeah,
Tell me a little bit more about Siargao now. So Siargao is a beautiful picturesque destination in the Philippines. Many
yeah,
of our community members are there right now. We know we've had a few different nomad
yeah.
themed events that have been there with Nomads in Paradise and Kayak Connections, which is great. But for the most part, Siargao seems to be getting a lot more traction in the digital nomad community as of late. It's a bit more of like an emerging destination or a recent addition to the
Exactly.
established nomad trail. I want you to tell me like some of the changes that you've seen in Siargao over the last couple of years that you've been there, and just maybe describe the destination for those of us who haven't been there before.
Right. Well, the rate of change and attention that Siargao is getting, it's like getting whiplash. There's so many people that are coming here right now. We just had at our business, we had our busiest last 2 weeks because there was a digital nomad conference there. About
Hmm.
200 people showed up
Wow.
for a whole week and just threw down. And like, um, this is an island that's being compared a lot to Bali.
Right.
And idea is that, we're probably 15 to 20 years behind Bali. And so, if you look on the Google search trends, like we're kind of like, 1/20th the search
Wow.
of Bali, but
Hmm.
we're on the way up. And the
Yeah.
beauty of where we are is that there is this undeniable beauty of nature
Hmm.
here. But then there's also how it separates itself from Bali is that the people, the
Mm.
culture, the
Mm.
very inviting, welcoming culture. It's a culture that, you know, like when you're walking down the street, you'll meet a local and be like, come over, let's have a meal at
Wow.
my house, and
Wow.
you really get to meet people and
Very
feel like
cool.
you're part of the community. And that's why so many people, when they come here, they want to stay. There's so many nomads that
Wow.
have decided to just like invest in land. And so it's kind of a really cool place because it's a bit of a blank canvas. There's so much sort of
Very cool.
raw land and really interesting ideas floating around that people are coming here and creating co-working spaces and like healing places and their favorite
Right.
like ideal bar or resort or it's just there's so many niches that are still yet to be filled that
Super
um
cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Wow. No, I love that it's in a very different stage of development than some of the other places that a lot of our community members would go to. So, as you said, it's a
Yeah.
blank canvas. There's an opportunity to go and to kind of make it your own. But there is a
Yeah.
community there, right? And we as a digital nomad
There.
community, we travel largely because we travel between communities, not just traveling between places. But there is a community, and it's established there. It's growing. As you said, there's more co-working spaces. The remote workers are coming there. So I really am intrigued to see where Shario continues
And
to grow because I think the potential is fantastic.
I wanted to add one thing that kind of separates it from other digital nomad areas is
Yeah.
that you're really tied to nature here. It's almost a little bit feral in a
Mm.
beautiful way.
Wow.
You're on two wheels. open air. There's jungle around you. You know,
Wow.
you're forced to like navigate the rain and the sun, and sometimes there's no power because the power goes out because it's an island,
Right.
and
Of
you know,
course.
and you're forced to sort of like connect to your more sort of raw nature, which is also very enlivening. But then you
Yes.
have
Yeah.
the creature comforts of, you know, Starlink and, you know, like co-working spaces and, you know, really yummy restaurants. And so it's a beautiful sort of like, I don't know, magical wonderland for people
Very
like
cool.
ourselves, adventurous. So yeah.
Super cool. No, I'm eager to come check it out. I've been to the Philippines before. I've always had a great time in the Philippines and all the different places I've been to. You know, the Filipino culture is very warm and inviting. The people have been fantastic, but I actually haven't had a chance to come to Siargao, so I'm really eager to come check it out.
Please come check it out. You'll be my special guest. I'd love to show you around. I'll take you on a surf trip and you know,
Great.
we'll jump off a boat into super crystal clear tropical waters and we're gonna have a blast.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's a persuasive sell, Jay. I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, you know, this has been super enlightening. I really appreciate you coming over on the show and taking the time to tell us a bit more about your story, a bit more about Voltun. For our viewers who are interested in learning a little bit more about Voltun and kind of seeing if there's an opportunity for them to come by, where can they find you?
You can find us online. It's Vultun.com. Think Vulcan and Neptune. So VULTUN.com. We're
Awesome.
online. We're also on social media. So you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and some other areas. We also have a newsletter called The
Okay.
Seed. So you can find that on our website. And that's a way for us to sort of because healing, transformation, growth, evolution, it takes a while. And so when you come to Voltune, we don't just, you know, have you and then drop our connection. We want this to be a long process and a long relationship to help you be your most badass, optimized self. So you can join the newsletter. You can find us on the website. Those would be the best ways.
Fantastic. No, I literally just signed up for the newsletter this morning. So looking forward to getting some more tips and taking my own journey forward and all the great content that you're dropping. So that's great. But yeah, thanks so much, Jay. Really appreciate it. And we'll chat again soon.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Cheers.